Welcome to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast, your destination for all things lacrosse. I'm your host, Kyle Devitt, and alongside me, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Italy, Jack Piatelli. How we doing?
I like that, Mr. Italy.
It's a new one.
Yeah,
I threw it in there at the last minute.
I appreciate that. I'm a big fan of Italy. All four of my grandparents were born in Italy, which means a lot to me. But I was in Albany, New York over the weekend, and my phone was pinging, right? We had some teams, box teams, playing in a tournament in Albany, and then they go to the Firewolves game. It's a great weekend, but my phone's pinging. I'm like, why is my phone pinging? All the lacrosse scores were coming up on my phone. I forgot it was the beginning of the lacrosse season because I follow the Ivy Leagues. The Ivy Leagues start 2 weeks after, all the other schools. So some kind of rule they have. But, yeah. We're in lacrosse season. This is your time
do you know?
shine. This is your time to shine.
It is. Listen, now we don't have to worry about content. Yay. One thing I will tell you, what in media world for lacrosse, you know what we call that first week?
What?
Week 0. We don't call it week 1. This weekend coming up is week 1. Week 0 is like, all the teams that want to get into the first game. Okay. The other thing too, I had this conversation at Mass Youth Convention that our guest was at. We'll get to that in a second. We used to have debates all the time at the end of the year. And people, I remember I'm not going to say who it was, but I specifically was having a debate with someone about a team. And they brought up a score and a stat line from the first game in February. And I turned to them and I was like, are you seriously statting me with a score from week 0? You've got to be kidding me. Because for everyone watching games and listening and doing everything that you're doing, the team that you see the first weekend, even if it's the best team in the national championship team, they're bad. Every team is bad. Every team in the world is bad on week 1. And even if they're not bad, they're not going to be the same team at the end of the season. So keep that in mind. If you guys have a little, your team's struggling a little bit, keep the faith. Keep going.
I'd like to expand on that.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's introduce.
We should introduce the guest.
Yes, introduce the guest.
Yes. This is Tyrone Croom. We've known each other for I would say, who's known you longer, me or him?
Ooh, Jack, definitely.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
damn.
absolutely.
Thought I was going to win that.
I'm older.
Yeah, but who do you like better?
Well, listen, right now I love both of you guys both. So.
Oh, what an answer. What a man. It's like you own your own business or something. You know what you're doing.
What a question to ask.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
tough.
you know.
Well, no.
He's open up hot.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
You know what the problem with starting early with lacrosse is? These players are coming off Christmas break, so they only have 2 weeks for practice before their first game. It's not like football or soccer where they have 6-8 weeks and they build up. They have the fall season, they have some scrimmages, and then it ends. They go home 3 or 4 weeks, they come back, and they only got 2 weeks. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, high school is the same. I got my email the other day like, hey, first day of practice is March 18th. Update your CPR certification. I'm like, March 18th?
When's your first game?
Not until April. So we have that little cushion, right? But it feels like a cushion because we're in a gym. But then we're like out on the field and we're like, oh my God. We have to play a game before we haven't seen a field. That's everyone in New England. So just so everyone knows that's coming too.
Yeah, I was going to add to that too. You got to have that feeling of we're playing in sweatpants. Practices aren't as crisp as they should be.
Yep.
That cold weather, starting out in the cold weather, season doesn't really start until you really get that warm weather. You're out there in the shorts. You're able to get your action going. So that also comes in a little bit of play too.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I used to work for a coach who is currently a Division I coach. I won't say who it is. And they said during recruiting, if they went and saw a team and it was a game and there was kids wearing sweats that weren't goalies, you got crossed out. So don't do that. There's plenty of technology now. You can just get some Under Armour gear. You can get some gear that keeps you warm. Don't be the guy that rolls out in all sweats and tries to play in a real game. Preseason, it's fine. No one cares. But real game, I see kids with like hoodies now, and I'm just like, ugh, no.
Agreed.
Toughen up.
Especially if you don't want to be noticed on the field. That's just bullseye.
Yeah.
You're the only one wearing sweats on the field. Everyone's watching you. No one's watching anyone else.
We all had someone on our team that wore sweats to everything, and it's just like, dude, they're going to come after you, dude. Can you take the hoodie off, please? Or cut it off? Do something. Well, cut the hood off.
Let's ask this question. So let's go to the other extreme. What about the people that it's 14 below, and you got the one player that comes out there, and they've got nothing on. They're warming up with no shirt on. They're doing the whole nine, and they're just saying the cold doesn't mean anything to me. Meanwhile, you can see like the different shades of color that are happening on their body.
Can I tell you? You know what that means? That person is from New Hampshire,
or Maine,
or Vermont. They're not from Massachusetts. I'll tell you that right now. They're not from Connecticut. They're definitely not from Connecticut.
Definitely not.
Or Rhode Island. Really? Right?
Really?
You're a Rhode Island Mass guy now.
Yes. No, it gets cold, but not a lot of snow. I mean, but moderately, winter is very moderate compared to New Hampshire, Vermont, or Maine. No question about it.
I would say so.
Especially the further south you go.
Right. Tyrone, let's kind of talk about your first of all, CroART. Let's explain what CroART was. We did that a little bit of an explainer out front with Eric Seamans, but kind of give us the short answer of what CroART is, because it's a lot of things.
The short answer is basically kind of a sports consulting. Years ago when we first started, we identified that there were no leagues in the city for post-collegiate players to get out and get on the field. So we started running leagues, operating leagues, and then those kind of expanded into other states. What we noticed from there was there are a lot of town youth programs with all types of programs that just needed support. They didn't have back-end infrastructure. They didn't know how to pull permits. They didn't know what to do on creating budgets for leagues and things like that. So that's what CroART started, and I think a lot of people don't know the real basis behind what we do with CroART. We're kind of that sports consultant that comes in to help, regardless of what the sport is. So lacrosse is our anchor, is our wheelhouse. But the joy of our company is trying to support others in building and making theirs grow stronger.
I think one of the things that anyone that's in their 30s and 40s right now that played in the city or lived in the city and loved lacrosse and wanted to played in a CroART league. Yeah. I mean, you had leagues down at the airport. You had them in did you have them in Dorchester or was
Dorchester?
Dorchester.
We had them out in the suburbs, out in
South Boston,
Marlboro, Southie. We had leagues up in Maine. We had leagues in UNH.
I remember playing at Charlestown, and then watching the town and being like, "Oh yeah, I know where that is."
Yeah. And again, one of the things I loved about those leagues, and it was funny because when we started out, it was literally just 6 teams, 120 guys just out there playing. And then year after year, you started seeing top level college players come. And then all of a sudden the pro players were out there. And then it just became something that was just unbelievable, the talent that was out there playing on a weekly basis. One of the things I did like about the leagues was what you and I have our connection. There were guys that were moving into town, and I'd get an email, and they'd say, "Hey, listen, I want to play some lacrosse, but I don't know anybody." And I'd say, "Come on, we'll get you on a team," And then they'd be like, "But I played this Division III, or I played club at it." Listen, doesn't matter. Just come out and play. And then for me, what was awesome was I'd see that person would now all of a sudden link up with a team, and now they're hanging out with those guys and they're doing different things, and it's just we were more like a social network before it was social network. So
That's
that was
true.
kind of what was really cool about the league. And again, another piece that people kind of missed about what the goal was. It was really connecting people through the sport of lacrosse, which why we're all even sitting here in the first place is because we've all been connected through this great sport.
Talk a little bit about your upbringing and where you went to school and how you came across the game of lacrosse. Like everybody's got a different story, especially you're a little bit younger than me, and obviously Kyle's a number of years younger than me. But I got a lacrosse stick when I was in the 8th grade, and then I didn't start till my freshman year like Kyle did. What was your experience growing up, and how did you get introduced to the game, and now it's become a huge part of your life?
Absolutely. It's actually funny. I was a little bit of an anomaly for our era, and I'll bring you into my era a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Being a Sudbury guy.
It's our era. It's fine.
Being a Sudbury guy, everybody thinks that, everybody was born with a lacrosse stick in Sudbury. That wasn't really the case. We had a very strong program. Everybody knows the name Andy Oleski.
Sure.
He's the one that started the program in Sudbury in the high school program. I think it was about 1972 or so. But there were no youth programs like there are today. So I was fortunate enough, I went to the Faith School in Southborough. So I was introduced to the sport of lacrosse, not only because my brother was in high school and played, but also because I got the opportunity to play at a younger age versus a lot of my peers. The big thing that we used to joke about growing up in Sudbury was most of us didn't pick up their sticks until ninth grade and first time starting. And everyone's like, no, you got to have youth programs. You guys had to have been out there playing. It's like, no, that's not the case. The success that we had was more that we all played football. We all played basketball together. We all played baseball. We just had that kind of blue collar style of where if 20 of us were playing a sport, we were playing that sport,
right?
And that carried on to whatever sport that we were getting into. So my lacrosse journey is pretty interesting. As I mentioned, I had an older brother who played the sport. The person that I'm going to say next by the name of Dave Taylor.
Sure.
Dave Taylor was the guy that gave me the first stick. It was a Brian Superlight 2. I never forget being over at his house just hanging out, and then he went into his garage and we were playing catch, and he was just like, yeah, Tyrone, just take that stick home. And I look at that part of my life of lacrosse, and I kind of look at where it's taken me, and I tell this story for this reason. I just last year was playing in Florida with Dave. The connections that you make, the ability to stay connected with the sport. I've played basketball, I've played football. I still have lots of friends from those sports, but I don't go and do the same things that I do with the lacrosse guys. We don't connect the same way that you connect with lacrosse guys. So to me, that's the biggest messaging that I try to pass on, is that this is a sport that gives, for the rest of your life, one that you can be engaged with as long as you want it to be. I keep joking with everybody is that I'm going to go into my retirement when my son, who's a freshman right now, he's a freshman up at Cushing Academy playing lacrosse up there and basketball. And when I can step on the field and play with him one shift, that's when I will actually hang up my shoes and say that I am done. I will still stay around lacrosse, but as far as running around like I do now, that's kind of my tip to the hat of the program and to play it forward for me.
That's the LeBron. LeBron said that, actually.
I think I had it before he said it, though, because he's younger.
And because I'm older than you, I had that experience in this pickup league, box league in Foxborough, Mass. Sunday mornings. My two sons came with me, and all three of us played, but they wouldn't put us all on the same team because I was a little disappointed we couldn't play on the same team. I have one or the other, but it was just a great experience, because what's great about having your children play, it's not so much that they play, but the passion. They have the same passion that we did playing the game, because it's a very addicting game. And you were a multi-sport athlete. What are your thoughts about these kids now that are just focused on lacrosse?
I got to be honest, that one's a tough one for me. I truly believe that they should play as long as they can, as many sports that they can. You learn from different coaches. You learn different muscle movement. There's different abilities. I'll use myself as an example. As a football guy, I was a punt return, running back, receiver. I looked at a lot of my moves in lacrosse. They were all based off those same things. If it was open field, I would revert back to being that punt returner. I see the field, I see where where everybody's coming, where the slides are coming, I see where the hits are coming from, and that helped me on clears.
The end zone is the goal.
Absolutely. And back when we played, there wasn't such thing as I was a throwback, two-way midi, man down, man up, all the things that you go through. That was what I had to roll into. So for me, being able to be in those tight quarters, working through, I was used to linebackers twice the size of me coming in, filling holes, and either having to block them or having to move from them. So, come lacrosse time, I could shake and wiggle and get in between things. So I think there's a little bit of a lost art behind that. With that being said, though, you look at the things that these kids can do from being specialized. And don't get me wrong, that's what happens when you specialize. Like the stick skills, the IQ, the levels are up higher than they've ever been. But at what risk or what loss is what I ask the question. Because you get a lot of these kids now also are starting to get that burnout rate. They get to that part where they've been working so hard, and then they get to college, and then all of a sudden it's overwhelming, because at college it becomes a job, and the fun goes away. But I think those multi-sport athletes that understand that and have the little bit of breaks in between and are able to do the different things, I think if you look at the grand scheme and the big picture, the majority of players who continue through, male and female, are multi-sport athletes at the end of the day.
Talking about what you guys just talking about, playing with your sons, just brought an image to my mind and a question. Do your kids play like you? Like if you think back to like you in your prime when you're playing, do they have a similar play style, do you think, or is it totally different?
Totally different.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, the reason they probably didn't put all three of you on is because all you had to do was sit at X and you could just pick them apart and feed them, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yes. Okay. How about you?
Yeah, totally different. I look at both my son and my daughter, the way they play, the cerebral approach that they have to the game right now. I just used to be pick up ball, run ball, score a goal. That was my thing.
Well, that's why I like playing with you. All I have to do is pass you the ball. Just get out of the way.
So it works out perfect.
That's fun. It's good for me. It's good for everyone.
Right on.
Everybody scores. Yeah, I'm always curious about that. I mean, I don't, again, say this, I feel like I say this every podcast. I don't have kids, but my girlfriend's son is 8, and I have been teaching him lacrosse. And I asked that question because I was watching him play the other day in a league, in the indoor league, and he pulled up from like 2 steps over the half line and ripped a shot and it went in. And I jumped up, and I didn't think I would have that reaction. Just didn't think I'd have it. And I was like, yeah. And everyone's like, Jesus. He pulled up from 2 steps over the half line. I'm like, yeah, I would do that. That's fine. Like, that's good. It went in. If it goes in, you can't get mad at the kid. And they were like, Kyle, sit down. So it's like just my first little like kind of taste of that. That's why I wanted to ask. Like, watching and coaching your kids, like, what is that like for you? Like, what does the feeling bring about for each of you guys?
Well, to be honest, it's a thrill. It really is. And to watch your kids play at a high level, or just even play at the youth level, just, that they have fun. And they the thing that I enjoyed was they wanted to get better on their own. And certainly, I'm sure Tyrone and you're there to give them some advice and work with them a little bit. But to actually watch them play, it's funny because I'll say, oh, geez, John, why'd you make that pass? Inside me, it's like, I wouldn't have made that pass.
Yeah.
And then afterwards he goes, yeah, Dad, I know. I shouldn't have made that pass. And I'm like, yeah, what were you thinking? I should have made that pass, Dad, because I know you would have made that pass, Dad. Right. So, but it's obviously, it's just a great feeling. It's in any sport, but especially lacrosse, because I know lacrosse better than I know all the other sports. So, and to see him out there, it's a thrill.
Yeah, I got to co-sign with you on that one. It is amazing. It's fantastic to watch them do the things that they can do. It's great to be able to, and I try to be very positive when I work with my kids outside of coaching them, outside of their games. Everybody can go down that wormhole of like, you get in the car ride and you're driving back from the game and you're like, why didn't you do this, and this, as opposed to like, let them get the first words out.
I couldn't agree with you more
about those things.
Yes,
let them go
absolutely.
and then get engaged in that. And I'm not going to sit here and preach and say that I'm innocent and that I don't get into that. But not as much as a lot of my friends that I talk to and a lot of people that I talk to. But as far as coaching them and giving those experiences and being able to share that with them on the sidelines, there's nothing better than that. It's amazing and it's fun. And I encourage more people to take advantage of those times, especially at the youth level.
It goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
Tyrone, I'm sure you can relate too, but what's nice about having your kids play, Danielle's son plays, so you sort of have a little, like a stepson to you. Shout out to Danielle, and that's his girlfriend.
Right
his
puts up with me.
His future wife, nice Italian lady.
Ooh,
anyways,
pressure's up there.
Yeah, she's beautiful. He got lucky. He's gonna marry up for sure. Anyways,
why are you turning so red over there?
I hope Danielle's listening.
I hope so
Hi,
too.
Danielle. How are you?
She loves you.
I hope all Danielle's friends are listening.
Oh my God.
But when you have kids that love something like you do, now you hang out, you go to games with them, you talk about it. It's conversation. Sometimes it's tough to get your kids to talk about anything, but they want to talk lacrosse. Yeah, let's talk to Dad about lacrosse. Talk about players, talk about teams, whatever it is. Talk about training. So that common link is, I think, more than anything, that's what's great about it.
It's funny you say this. So this is one of the things I talk a lot about with like youth organizations. Whenever I encourage parents, you get I don't know anything about lacrosse. And there's no way I can connect with my child on lacrosse. And I say it's actually the opposite. Like if you show that you have a little bit of that interest in the sport, if you show that you care a little bit, you can't go out in the backyard. If you're a baseball player whose son or daughter is playing lacrosse, you don't go out back and take out your glove and play catch with them. it's okay if you're horrible at it. It's okay. But you have that stick and you show that you're relating to the sport. There's nothing better. And when you watch those eyes light up when you're doing that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's the bad thing about all these parents knowing that I do lacrosse, as they say.
Yes.
How do you do lacrosse?
No, they say that's what they say.
know.
Very
They
well.
literally like, so you do
lacrosse.
You do lacrosse. And I'm like, yes, I do lacrosse.
Guys, I'm feeling a branding opportunity here. Why is there not a DoLacrosse.com?
Hashtag do lacrosse. It's one of those things where like I'll go and like it's just kids are 8, man, and they're like, I see the coaches and they're dads, right? Now they don't have a lot of experience, and they'll be like, hey, do you want to come, help us out one day? And last year I did. It was during I think it was April vacation. We didn't have practice at Hopkinton. So I went to one of his practices and I kind of set stuff up and had them do 2-on-2s and stuff. They'd never done that before. Some violence broke out because I kind of didn't realize I was ratcheting up the intensity with 8-year-old kids. But all the parents were like, oh, that was great. Can you coach us? And I was like, no. And it's not because I didn't want to. It's just like I have to focus on my guys and do different things. And the way that I coach, I think, is a little too energetic, I think, for younger kids. But I think one of the things that I like to push when I talk to parents and people getting into the sport is exactly what you were saying. Learn what you can and talk to your kid about it. Show them that you have interest and be like, hey, maybe like you just learn how to string a stick. Maybe you just know the terms for stringing a stick or where you're playing on the field or what the positions are. It shows so much to the kid that they don't, that you're not like telling them what to do so much as you're sharing it.
Absolutely.
With them.
Yep, that's it.
Right?
I think that's the best way to describe, and I wish that soundbite that you just put there could be in more of the ears and more of the organizations and more of the people that volunteer their time. Share their experience and enjoy it. Like that's sometimes I think that people don't enjoy it. They worry about the win or they worry about the fact that their kid can't catch and throw, and it's like, you're missing the point here. Like, this is something for you to connect with. And, we all know, what was the game of lacrosse founded on? You know what I mean? It's the connecting game. Like, it's all about that. So those who embrace that, it's such a different experience, and especially at the young age.
Once again this winter, Piatelli Lacrosse has a great way for you to stay in shape and play lacrosse this off-season. Starting in January, their indoor lacrosse program will take place at Four Kicks in Taunton. This program is open to youth and high school players of all ages, regardless of school or club affiliation. The up-tempo pace of indoor box lacrosse is an excellent way for players to learn to play faster and develop new skills that will make you more effective on the field come spring. Coaches will be provided for each game, and all players will take part in a mini clinic prior to their game to work on different box lacrosse skills. Make the most of your off-season and play some box lacrosse. For more information on Piatelli's Winter Box Lacrosse League, visit PiatelliLacrosse.com. That's Piatelli lacrosse.com.
You brought up Dave Taylor, who I consider a friend, outstanding lacrosse player, and a better man.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a son. Is he going to UMass? I'm not sure. He's going somewhere.
Got one at Babson, and oh boy, Dave's gonna be mad at me for forgetting this one. Yeah, Union.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Babson Union.
So the reason why I bring up Dave Taylor, if you look at the New England region, right? Mm-hmm. And you've been in this region for a long time. I've been in it forever. But there's 4 African Americans: yourself, Billy Day, Kyle Hatton, played a great player, just got inducted into the Massachusetts Hall of Fame, and Dave Taylor. So when I think about New England lacrosse, those guys come up because they've been a great influence in the game. Obviously, Billy Day, Dave Taylor, Kyle Hatton, yourself. I know you've done some inner city work over the years. How do we get more African Americans playing this game? And I told my kids this. I said, if Alabama, South Carolina, LSU, all these schools get lacrosse, you're going to be out of a job. Because, there's so many great athletes. And I know, but we got to get more.
Yeah, so it's an interesting, and it's a subject. It's actually one of the things that we talked about. There was a diversity panel that had a discussion at the Matthews Lacrosse. I have for years been an advocate. Strangely not, I'm going to back up while I tell this version of the story. I was very fortunate with our era of Lincoln Sudbury and the town. First of all, it's a predominantly white town,
Right.
so there wasn't a lot of black families in the town as it was. We did have the METCO program. So it was interesting that I never really noticed the number or the lack of number of African Americans playing lacrosse because, my senior year, there was 8 of us on the team.
Right.
Going and watching my brother, there was 5 or 6.
Right.
So what was interesting is if you now look at today, 2024, there's less on the Lincoln Sudbury team now than when I played in the 90s. So the tough question is
Why?
Why? There's a lot of levels of where I think, one, acceptance, the other, just the culture of the sport. The positives that I have with the culture, there are also the negative sides. It's very cliquey. It's very kind of stand backish. But again, when you're in, you don't see that.
Right.
You don't understand that. And it's hard when I say that to people because they look at me and they go, well, I thought you said it was such a great sport. I go, hey, listen, everything is that way. Like if I hang out with 5 specific people and we go to have dinner, right, we're not looking to add other people into our group. And if someone happens to walk by and talk, we start talking and then, we invite them to join the table. It's the best way I can give the analogy.
Yep.
So when you see players or when you see, especially if we're talking about African-American, black players, if it's not inviting, we have to actually be more about stopping ourselves from being that way and invite more and talk more and bring in, which it's great to see that happening, but the result has yet to yield what everyone's trying to do.
You mentioned acceptance. Can you expand on that?
Again, I think it's how can I expand on the acceptance? I mean, in the sense that, go ahead.
So you're saying that the lacrosse community isn't accepting to have African Americans participate in the lacrosse?
I'm not saying that they're not accepting. I'm just saying the perception of that being accepting is sometimes viewed that way.
I got you.
Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
An analogy of, like I said, I'll use this as a perfect analogy. 5 players on the team after the game. 4 of them are white players. They go to specific person's house, hang out. They go do different things, and the one black player goes to do something else. That still in today's game still happens. That still happens on teams. You'll see specific players that are deemed athletes or athletic. They could easily be an attackman, but they're put as a defensive midfielder. Why? Why is that? Those are questions that you ask. And now here's what happens when the athletic defensive midfielder talks to their friends and they say, hey, I've seen you score goals. I've seen you do all these other things. Why aren't you playing attack? And they say, I don't know. Coach just doesn't put me there. Or I've just always played this. And that's not making it where the other person who says, oh, I want to come try this sport, come out and try it.
Because it's not attractive to be a defensive midi and not have the opportunity to play on the offense. And so the coach is saying, oh, he's an athlete.
Right.
So because he's the best athlete on the field, we're going to put him on defense. He can run the field. He can play good defense. He can play it better than else. He might also be the best attackman on the team, but we're going to put him on defense. Right. That's your position.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think to speak to the culture part of it too, it's not just it is race in a couple ways. In a couple ways, it's economic. Mm-hmm. We have that on our team where we have kids from different side of town, and they don't hang out together as much as they hang out with each other. So part of what we do as coaches is we do try to do as much team stuff as we can with the high school program. Everybody's going here. Everyone's got to be there. If you're not there, you're in trouble. Everyone's got to go. And we don't have a ton of diversity in Hopkinton, New Hampshire. I know it's shocking to everyone. But we have a couple Latin players on the team, and we have had them in the past. We had a couple African-American players on the team, and it was easy to see where the tension was for me. Maybe I was a little more attuned to it just because, like, you know, I've been out in the world, and what people forget about these small towns all over the place, not just where I'm from, is you're just in this bubble, and you don't know what else is happening. Your preconceived notions kind of run your life, and you don't realize that till you leave, right? And I try to broach that with kids as young as like 14, and it doesn't go through them. But I think one of the things too that you were talking about at the Mass Youth Convention, the thing that stood out to me was, so one of the questions was, how do you get more players involved that aren't white players? How do you bring more people in? And one of the things that you said was very interesting to me and made me want to do something for the first time in my life that I've never wanted to do, which is be on a board.
There you go.
My man, I never want to be on a board, ever. It sounds boring. It sounds terrible. I don't want to sit in a room with a bunch of people that want to argue with me. Actually, wait. No, I want to do that. But I don't want to lose. You know? And I think what you said was, how has this board made an effort to reach out to different, you know, aspects?
Great
to
point.
different people in the community. What have they done? What efforts have you made? It's the best. It's just the best thing I could think of. And now I want to like join boards all over the place, because I think that's the most. What I took away from that talk was lots of things, but that was the thing that just stuck in my head. You know, a little needle in the back of my head, just being like, you can do that.
Yep.
Anyone can do that.
Yep.
That's not just something that someone else has to do because they feel like they have to do it. You can make the effort. And I think it sounds, if you say it out loud, it sounds easy for people to do.
Yep.
And I think if more people did it, it would have a huge impact.
So that goes back to, you know, when you asked me earlier, that to me is, how can we make the changes? Again, we got to look at the people who are the gatekeepers. We got to look at the people. You know, again, why did you pick up a lacrosse stick the first time in your life? Because someone introduced it to you, someone who you knew, someone who you trusted talked to you about it. There's probably 10 other friends of yours that didn't have that same introduction that you received. What I feel is, until we do that, until we have the boards who are looking at, and I don't mean this to single out, what I mean this is to look. All of us have day jobs doing other things, right? How do we build a brand? How do we market our products? How do we sell things? But then we get into this world where we just keep the same. It's the same emails that go out. It's the same flyer that goes through the school. What are we doing different? That's the challenge that I put on. Let's be different in our approach. Let's look at those opportunities to find and identify other players and grow.
I couldn't agree more. And I could be honest with you, when I was in high school and in college, and when I played professionally and in Australia even, you know, I had a number of African-American teammates, and, you know, different walks of life. And what I realize is, I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you're black, Italian, green, orange, whatever. If you can help this team win, and you're going to come and practice every single day and work as hard as everyone else, I'm all for it. So the game has been I'm very blessed. The game has been so good to me. And the reason that we got into what we into is because we want to give back, right? We want to hand a kid that stick. And there's got to be more opportunities for minorities, African Americans, and whether it's cost or, you know, not being in that circle, we got to change it.
Yep. And I'll ask you this question, Jack. I mean, and again, I don't want this to, it's not putting you on the spot, but like you just mentioned, and I have this dialogue with a lot of people. So of those black players that you played with, you know, how many of them outside of the sport do you socialize with? And why I ask that question is, again, back to sometimes when you think, it's like, listen, not everybody's going to get along. That's not the goal. That's not the question I ask. But a lot of times, without even noticing, there's certain times that you're like, now again, there are certain teammates that I don't want to hang out with. But the question I ask is, if we look at these players that we've played with, and out of them, let's just use the number of 100, okay? And there's 10 black players that, man, you know what? I'll call him tomorrow to go hang out. I always ask that question, is think of what that number is for you. And you can either tell it now or you can but think of what that number is. And then the only thing I ask from there is, then think through, why is it I don't talk to these other guys? And that might make two things happen. One, kind of say, oh, maybe there's something I need to change. Or I haven't talked to these guys in a while. Let me go reach out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Billy Dare reached out to me the other day about a player. It was nice to hear from him. But when I was in lacrosse, when I was playing with them, I would hang out with them no differently than I would hang out with anyone else. I enjoy it. Kyle Hatton's a great man. Billy Day, yourself, and Dave Taylor. So to me, it was they were part of the team. And do I call them? No, but I don't call Dave Desko or Bruce Janichuk. I think I'm at a different stage in my life. I'm 61, so my life is my kids and my work. So, I don't even hang out with Kyle. I mean,
that's a different story.
But that makes sense.
Yes,
that makes a lot of sense because not many people want to hang out with him. I got to hang out with him.
That is not true.
I almost forgot he was there.
I have to hang out with him. I'm forced to sit in the studio for 3 hours every 3 weeks. So when we have a guest in studio, you know what that does for me? Puts a big smile on my face.
Yeah, I hope it does. Jeez, man.
So I
don't even know. What do I say?
If you called me, I'd return your call. I saw you in Florida. We don't hang out. I have a lot of respect for you, and I think you have the same for me.
Absolutely.
Black, orange, red, whatever. You're a good guy. You're in lacrosse. Right. We have a lot of similar likes. Right. And you're a good father. So on and so forth. So to me, it doesn't make a difference. And again, when I was in that world, I can say that for most of my teammates too. But we didn't get those guys there. That's the challenge, right? When they're there, I think everything's great.
Right.
It's gravy.
That's why I think doing it at the board level and the youth level is more important than anything else.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Set the tone, set the strategy, and that's where it works.
And it really shouldn't be cost because at the youth level, you can get by with inexpensive equipment. You don't have to buy the top dollar stuff that I used to sell. Yeah. But I'd encourage you to sell or buy.
Oh my God!
I think I played with a Jack Piantelli purchase stick back in the day, man. Absolutely, when you're repping the brand, I was like, "Hey, Coach Piantelli gave me the stick to try out. You did a good job, man. You got us all like, hey, you gave me the stick.
I did. When I was with Warren and Brian, I gave out a lot of sticks.
Absolutely.
For a lot of kids.
No doubt about it.
And I think I did a pretty good job creating a lot of interest in the game. And I guess my point is, I want to see more African Americans playing lacrosse.
Well, you touched on something that right there. I've used this and a platform that I've tried to use, and I've encouraged my peers to do the same. Think of the opportunity. You said it yourself when you were out there working for Warrior. You were tossing out sticks, bringing stuff all the time. That's happening, but it's not happening, in my opinion, the right way.
No.
There's plenty of opportunity to go to different neighborhoods, to do different things, to pull resources. I mean, the three of us could probably do a campaign right now where we could either get people to donate to purchase sticks, and then we can roll into a community and just be like, here you go. Why is that not happening? That's low-hanging fruit.
Right, and we should say, if anyone's listening to this podcast and you have someone that's interested in playing from the African American community, wherever that may be, a friend or whatever, give us a call.
Yeah,
text us. We'll put you in touch with the local organization, Tyrone, and if you need equipment, I'll buy the equipment. Exactly. I'll donate it.
Exactly.
Not everybody, but I will donate some equipment.
Yep.
Yeah. Listen, hit me up, kyle.devitt@lacjournal.com. My email's everywhere. You can find me anywhere. It's annoying. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think sixes is a good gateway into the sport for younger ages that aren't playing it yet? And do you think that could be a factor going forward?
I think it's great. First of all, we all know that lacrosse is just such a fast, exciting sport. Adding that element of the sixes into it, yes. But again, until you get people to want to play, it doesn't matter how many kind of fun things you create. I mean, years ago, I'll give Casey Powell a shout out when he started that 3v3 speed lacrosse. It was brilliant. All you need is 3 kids out there, 3 people to go out and play and run around and have a great time and make it active. Great idea, but again, that didn't encourage more kids who were already playing the sport to come out. It was just those who were playing it were like, this is neat, I'll jump into that. If that model of 6v6 can kind of be built in and kind of, the way of attracting others, that would be fantastic. But I don't know the answer to that right now because it's still not going out and getting other people to come and try to play the sport.
Right.
What got my kids addicted to the sport, and I recommend this to every parent, if you're a fan of lacrosse or not, but your son is interested or your daughter's interested in playing lacrosse, take him to the NCAA Final Four championship.
That's what got me.
I brought my kids 11 times. After the first year, they kept begging me to. When we went 10 years in a row. We took a year off. We won another, and then fortunately, my kids played in the Final Four, which was an unbelievable thrill and experience. But that's where we lock them in. If we can get more African Americans to go and watch that live, it's one of the greatest events. You get kids running around the parking lot, all playing mini lacrosse, and it's high quality lacrosse. I mean, it's nothing better than that weekend.
Well, see, as you guys know about me, I'm kind of an actionable guy. So to me, that sounds like something that we should put a challenge out to the podcast, is that if we can come up with some people who'd like to get involved, maybe that's something that we champion and put together to be able to get some African-American potential lacrosse players to come down and see the game and learn the game. And
let's put a trip together.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Tickets, hotel.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a family of 4.
Love it. Love it.
Let me ask you one more thing before we go. Nation, right? CroART Nation. You're taking teams to Placid. I've played on the 45 team or 40 team last year and had a great time. Unfortunately, I can't go back and play, but we're gonna try and I'm gonna try and GM and coach a little this time around. Can you tell everyone a little bit about the Nation effort? And
so we're excited. Again, back to the whole thing of bringing people together. Kind of the motto of the league, motto of what I do in general is bring people together. We started the Daughters Nation. We have 3 teams. We have a gold team, which is consists of 25, 26, 27 grads. We have a silver team, which is the 25, 26, 27, and then we have the U14. The Daughters Nation came up with the majority of the players that are on the team are all our daughters, which is kind of neat and kind of cool. And then, it's his friends from all over. So we have players from Arizona, from Florida, from Maryland, from New Hampshire, from Maine, from Mass, Connecticut. And what's really cool is just getting everybody together and having our daughters play. From there, it spawned off to where we have the Sons Nation. So we have the 27-28 team. That's the one that you're going to be GMing and working with.
Helping out.
And then the whole thing with that is the same deal. It's, now not only is it the sons that are playing, but it's also the brothers who are playing. So the girls who are playing on the Daughters Nation, they have a sibling, they're coming over. And we've created this ecosystem of family. Jack knows this, and you know this, going to Lake Placid. That to me is probably the most ultimate tournament that's out there.
It's the Mecca.
You know what I mean? It's just, it gives you everything that you want. The ability to play the great games, the ability to socialize with friends, the ability to bring in the family. My kids have been going up there for years, and they couldn't wait to be able to start to play. And it was really cool. My daughter played last year. Obviously, she had played many years before that. But then having my son for the first time being able to play because he was eligible for that age bracket was just cool. And then, getting that picture, and then for us, old guys stepping out there at the end of the week, it's like the ultimate lacrosse family event to be at. It's the ultimate lacrosse player to be at. So that's what the Nation is. We bring in people from all over. Again, with that mindset of trying to encourage more to participate in the sport and play in the sport. I'd like to boast and brag that we probably have one of the most diverse programs up there, outside of the specific, Nations United program. But you walk through and you saw it as a player. How many other Black players, Latin players did you see that were on our teams between the 40, 45, and 50 versus the teams that we even play against. And that's
fantastic.
what we try to cast it. So again, I'm trying to do my part and our part in the game and passing the torch and bringing it on, and it's gonna be exciting.
And to your point, great to hang out with. It was fun. Awesome. We had some fun. We had some good times. Unfortunately, we're kind of out of time. But man, that flew.
That flew
right?
by.
42 minutes.
That was wild.
That's wild.
That was wild.
I think you guys need me on more.
We'll definitely bring you back.
Let's do it.
We'll definitely bring you back. We've already launched 3 initiatives through this podcast, so we got to bring you back. Let's launch a 4th.
There we go.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Man.
Good to see
Yeah,
you.
great to see you.
Yeah, always
Thanks.
a pleasure, my brother.
Yeah,
Always a
same
pleasure.
here.
And thanks again for listening to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast. For Jack Piatelli, I'm Kyle Devin. See you next time.